If you're anything like me, you've been riveted by HBO's new show, The Last of Us. Based on an action-adventure video game by the same name, the series follows characters trying to survive in a post-apocalyptic United States. The cause of the apocalypse? A mass outbreak of a fungus that essentially turns infected human beings into zombies. Even those like me, who aren't exactly zombie action fans, are finding it compelling. The scariest part? It's based, at least in part, on some reality. The villain in the series, the cordyceps fungus, actually exists, though not in the way it appears in the show. That might be the monster under your bed. But where does reality end and science fiction begin? Is any of this really a problem for humanity? Joining me to sort out fact from fiction is Dr. Scott Roberts, an assistant professor and associate medical director of infection prevention at the Yale School of Medicine. Well, doctor, I guess I can't ask you what you think of the show, but how, because you haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure you will after this.
I plan to.
You plan to. How accurate is the idea that a cordyceps fungus could take over a human being? Can you weigh in on that? Because I think it really does have some people pondering.
So this is a real fungus, and what it does is it really infects certain types of ants and causes them to change behavior and have movements in a way that the fungus does what it needs to do to reproduce and spread spores. I think, fortunately for us, is that this is a very species-specific interaction with these ants. And as an example, this cordyceps species is really unable to even spread amongst other ant species. So this likely evolved over many thousands of years, and I think the risk of this jumping to humans is extremely low.
Did you actually see, there was a BBC documentary that was something of the genesis for this Planet Earth episode that called it The Attack of the Killer Fungus? It led to this idea that ants can be taken over by a fungus because their brains were being controlled. Can you weigh in on any of this? There are, of course, debates about what exactly the fungus is doing to the ant.
Yeah, it's likely not actually brain control, but once the ant dies from infection, it sort of hijacks the movements of the ant through the nervous system. And so that causes it to move to an area where it can disseminate spores. But I think the risk that this will ultimately infect humans, kill humans, and cause that behavior change is really next to none. You know, we do have fungal and mold species in the air that we breathe in every day, and very few of these actually cause infections. And the ones that do really, in very rare circumstances, cannot spread person to person.
So we have a clip because we have to actually show what the issue is here that people are seeing. This is a clip from The Last of Us, which shows a mycologist examining a patient. I think we have something we can run.
Apa ini gigitan manusia?
So, Doctor, clearly this is not. You see the problem with what's being conveyed. I think people really have this concern that it can invade the body, but there are fungal infections. There are fungi that do invade the human body. What should we really be focused on?
You know, I think the reason I'm glad for the show is it is raising awareness for fungal infection in general. And what I can say is that most fungal infection occurs either through the pulmonary system, such as a pneumonia, valley fever in the southwestern United States, or histoplasmosis or blastomyces more in our region. And these occur through inhalation of spores, and really in the most extreme of cases usually causes a pneumonia. In some scenarios, and certain patient characteristics, such as those heavily immunocompromised or with indwelling devices or catheters, they can develop fungal infections that are what we term invasive. And usually this just means we find the fungus in the bloodstream or other deeper body sites. But really isolating what looks like specific debris of the fungus like they're pulling out in the show is really not how we see fungal infection present in normal human infection.
But fungal infections have been on the rise. Is that accurate? In 2021, something like 1.7 million people globally died as a result of some sort of fungal infection. So is the rise worrisome?
Absolutely. These are on the rise, and it is certainly worrisome. We're seeing fungal infections that are usually restricted to a certain area, like histoplasmosis in the Midwest, for instance. This is expanding, and we're seeing this creep out into other states and other regions. And I think the other thing is we're seeing new fungal species evolve with global warming. And there's one that arose in the past 10 years that we worry about in hospital settings called Candida auris, which many think arose because of global warming and that these fungal species are able to adapt to a warmer environment. And obviously, one reason that fungal infections don't infect humans very frequently is that our body temperatures are high, and certainly more so than cold-blooded species. And so with that, we're seeing fungal infections that may be able to adapt to infect humans with higher frequencies.
So fungal infections, fungi have not gotten the attention, not gotten, you could say, the love that viruses and bacteria have gotten, which means, I suppose, reduced resources for research. What do you think the issue is?
I think in general, these are not that prevalent. And when they are, they really don't cause severe problems. The ones that do really infect very specific patient populations that are far less numbers than that of a virus like COVID, for instance. Just today in our hospital, we've had 50 plus patients with COVID, and maybe only one or two will have an invasive fungal infection. So I think the good thing the show is raising awareness, but if you were to ask me as an infectious disease physician, what keeps me up at night? It's still going to be that next virus around the corner, whether it's a COVID variant or an avian flu, rather than fungal infections, just due to the sheer number of infections that people come down with these. However, I certainly am concerned in general with the rise in fungal infections, the new species we're seeing, and the fact that more and more people are getting infected with these over time.
And is there a concern about how we can treat these fungal infections, our ability to deal with them?
Right now, we have really great treatments for almost all types of fungal infections. There are a handful that do give me concern. One is the species I mentioned, Candida auris, which arose with climate change. There have been a few Candida auris isolates that have been fully resistant to all of our antifungal drugs. So I think the good news about the show raising awareness to this is that hopefully we can dedicate more resources toward combating this and developing new drugs if these continue to evolve.
So the WHO, for the first time, I think last year, put out a list of what it considers the top most, something like 19 most concerning fungi. Do you think that will motivate more research, more resources?
I certainly hope so. And I think the WHO and the CDC really making a point to include these on their list of emerging threats is really only going to help the cause of combating fungal infection in the future. So I'm very glad to see that.
You would think, as you pointed out, we have a pandemic that is still so worrisome. You would think that people would not want to escape into more epidemic fiction when we have, this kind of pandemic reality. Why do you think people are drawn to this kind of thing?
Yeah, I think the producers of this show really took a unique part of nature that's been highlighted by Planet Earth and really expanded upon it and have created this incredible show. And perhaps it's just the pandemic really impacting us, but it seems that audience is ripe for apocalyptical shows. And I think that this is really seizing the moment right now. And, I certainly am very eager for this pandemic to end. I know others are as well. And however, I've heard the show is great, and I plan to watch it as soon as I'm able.
Okay, and you have any advice for people about who are concerned about different fungi?
I think in general, the risk to the average patient is low. but really doing what people can to really ensure healthy practices that reduce the risk for fungal infections. So really a healthy lifestyle, preventing diabetes, really controlling a lot of comorbidities that put patients at risk in the hospital where they might need catheters or immunosuppression, which predisposes people to fungal infection. But in general, the risk is low. And I certainly don't want to emphasize that this show is a potential realistic take of what could happen with a fungal infection. Although we do see fungal infections in different ways in patients on a daily basis here in our hospital.
Okay. Dr. Roberts, thank you for joining us.
All right, take care.